Welcome back to another edition of New York Got Game. Coming off of a big win at the Garden, the Knicks, they continue to build momentum as they roll into the NBA Cup Quarterfinals. And what we're going to do on this episode is we're going to break down a little bit about what we saw against Orlando, the recent winning stretch we've seen from the Knicks, and the latest on some key injury concerns. We are joined by a writer here for the New York Post and constant contributor to New York Got Game, my guy, Bryan Fonseca, joining me now. Bryan, what's going on, man?
Doing very well, much better today than earlier this week, where I was battling a little bit of a cold. But we're around the corner from that now. We're good.
Around the corner, it's good. You're feeling good. The vibes around the Knicks are good because they've won 7 out of their last 8. Although people are going to focus on the game they didn't win. That was against Boston. But let's look at it this way, Bryan. When you look at everything that you've seen from them in this stretch where they've won 7 out of 8 games, what has stood out the most about the way the team is playing during this run?
One of the things from last season that you and I would note was they kind of mess around a little bit too much. It feels like this year there's still a little bit of that, but they're messing around less. And they're putting away, really putting away some of the bad teams on their schedule. Like you can say, hey, the Knicks have had some schedule luck. And some of that is true, but also they're beating who they should beat. Like you just got to beat who's in front of you. Utah, for example, which wasn't this past game that we saw against Orlando from earlier today. Utah, they come out the gates on a 23-0 run. And from the first quarter, you knew it was over. Now, Dex, you and I don't think much of this Utah team, but to see that and to see a 146-112 result was encouraging. They're also healthier, cat notwithstanding today, than some of the other teams that they've been playing against. And OG-Anunoby previously notwithstanding either. They're taking care of the teams that they should be taking care of. And they're also taking care of business at home. The next piece of this for me is, can they take care of business on the road against good teams, against potential playoff teams? That's been the one thing this year that we haven't seen. And then we can nitpick about some of the consistencies and things of that nature. But that's the piece for me that we need to find out about. And we're going to have some opportunities on the road soon to evaluate this team against the Raptors, for example, and others.
Yeah, there will be time to evaluate that. Knicks 13-1 at home after their win over the Magic on Sunday. They are 3-6 on the road, so you'd like to see some improvement there, as Bryan just mentioned. Now, speaking of the Magic, that was their most recent game, and it was one that I know you had your eyes on, Bryan, and many fans had their eyes on, considering that this Knicks team had lost twice to the Magic this season, and Orlando, they had been the only team to win at the Garden this year. In that 13-1, they were the only team to serve the Knicks a loss. How would you characterize the team's response that we saw on Sunday, what I was calling a bit of a revenge game against Orlando? Yeah. What did you like about the way the Knicks responded? Because you talked about them taking care of the teams that they're supposed to, in Utah on Friday, which we saw. But what did you like about what they showed you against Orlando?
So it was a game we all circled because you're getting a healthier Orlando team now that Paolo Banchero is back in the lineup. Now, unfortunately, Franz Wagner is out because he suffered an injury during the game. We don't know how long that absence is going to be, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a super short-term thing. So all the best to him. Regardless, the Knicks did take care of business in this game for the most part. The ending got a little bit sloppy. It looked like it was put away with a minute and 40, minute and 20 to go. They were up double digits, and then Orlando kind of came back a little bit. And the Knicks had to really fight this one out, as they have on other occasions. But to see them without Karl-Anthony Towns rally from the interior, especially, like you had Mitchell Robinson starting in this game, but then you and I, Dex, have been talking all year about, all right, is Ariel Hukporti going to get an opportunity? Well, Karl-Anthony Towns misses his first game of the season. Ariel Hukporti plays 23 minutes. The 23 minutes that Mitchell Robinson did not play because he played 25 minutes. And Ariel Hukporti had some encouraging minutes. Now, the stats won't pop out to you. Maybe the rebounds will. He had 7 of them. But ultimately, the activity, that's what you want to see from a backup center. Just be everywhere, be a nuisance, try to blow up plays from the top of the key, down low, be a force on the interior, be active on the glass. He was doing all these things. He was rolling hard to the rim, and he made 4 out of 4 from the free throw line, which we have not seen from Mitchell Robinson all season because he hasn't made 4 free throws all season long, I don't believe. He was 3 for 17 last I checked, and that may still be the case. But regardless, Mitchell Robinson, it is still the case. Mitchell Robinson has not delivered from the free throw line, and Mike Brown, as a result, like he's kind of intimated, look, somebody else may get an opportunity. Now his hand was forced today because karl-anthony Towns was out, but Ariel Hukporti really showed himself, and I think this was one of his best NBA outings that we've seen.
Yeah, and Ariel Hukporti, who played down the stretch when Mike Brown had took the starters out, maybe a little bit too soon with just over a minute left to play. And when he had to bring back some people in and keep a big in, he kept Ariel Hukporti on the floor down the stretch. I thought that mattered a little bit in terms of who he could trust to make a free throw for the Knicks there. So that's something I think, as you noted there, to keep an eye on for sure. Now, the Knicks, you mentioned this, they do have some injury concerns themselves now because karl-anthony Towns, he did not play against the Magic on Sunday. That was due to a hamstring injury, a strain or soreness, excuse me, hamstring soreness is what it was called by the Knicks. Then in the game against the Magic, Deuce McBride, he suffered an ankle injury. Still no update on that. He has to be evaluated. This episode drops on Monday. Should have more information on that on Monday before their cup game against the Raptors on Tuesday. But let's say this, Brian, if the Knicks are to be without Deuce McBride and karl-anthony Towns for any time, how do you think that could affect their NBA Cup chances here, especially with playing Toronto on Tuesday and then hopefully trying to advance to Vegas?
Yeah, and the key for that game also on the Toronto side is whether or not they're going to have OG-Barrett, who is out again
Yep.
tonight because he's dealing with a little bit of an injury as well. And last time the Knicks played the Raptors and they took it to him, the Raptors were also shorthanded in that one too. The Knicks didn't have OG Anunoby, but the Raptors didn't have OG-Barrett, didn't have Jakob Porto. So OG-Barrett still on the injury report, and we'll see if he's going to play on Tuesday. This could be an example of maybe he's actually ready to come back Sunday, but they want to bring him back Tuesday because hashtag respect the cup. And we'll see what happens with karl-anthony Towns and Deuce McBride. Deuce McBride one didn't look great in particular, and with Cat, it looks like it's some soreness. So the fact that it's not a strain, I think, is encouraging. But when you see calf now, your ears perk up a little bit because in the modern NBA, you're constantly worried about the injury that starts with an A, capital A, that we're not going to mention because you don't want to wish that on anybody at this point of the year. That being said, if OG-Barrett's there, that's going to add a dynamic element to the Raptors offense because Knicks fans may know OG-Barrett can play, and he has been good this year and is really necessary for the Raptors to, play their brand of basketball. They've had a couple of silly losses as of late, including two to Charlotte, a team that I probably am higher on than most, but not to the point that I thought they were going to beat the Raptors twice, including in Toronto by nearly 30 points. But they're missing OG-Barrett right now. They've had Brandon Ingram, they've had Scotty Barnes, and they got Jakob back in the lineup. But the Raptors are also dealing with their health things too. So whoever's healthier is going to be interesting. And if everyone's full go, then it's going to be a close game. I think that the Knicks can win, and it'll be the best Knicks road win so far this year if they can get it because they haven't beaten a team on the road as good as the Raptors.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting big game on Tuesday night in the NBA Cup. We'll have more on that in this episode and talk about OG-Barrett a little bit more, who could be a factor in that game, whether he plays or does not play. Now, we saw OG Anunoby. The Knicks did get healthier in one regard before this game. OG Anunoby, he returned against the Jazz. Then he had a strong game against the Magic, 21 points, 7 boards. Mikal Bridges, he also showed out against the Magic, had a really good all-around game, got in the passing lanes there. What have you made of the impact that we've seen from Wingstop when healthy in Mike Brown's system? And I will say this not just on the offensive end, but also on the defensive end. So what do you make of the impact that Wingstop has made this year for the Knicks?
I kind of think OG Anunoby's been since, I mean, today especially, he's their most impactful two-way guy over the course of this year. Like he looks like an all defense level guy. Today he was a plus 20 by far the most, the best plus minus. Now plus minus imperfect stat, but when somebody's plus 20 in a game where his team wins by 6 points, that's something that's very noteworthy. And OG Anunoby, like you felt the two-way effort tonight. I thought it was really good. And the fact that he came back from an injury sooner than we expected. Like it wasn't something that we thought was obvious. Like, oh yeah, he'll be back, early December. Like, no, that wasn't expected to be the case at all. So the fact that he's even back and playing at a high level right away was encouraging. Mikal Bridges missed a bunch of shots, but again, his activity has been more consistent this year. Felt like he was fading away a little bit too much. He was kind of reverting into last season's Mikal Bridges at times in this game and didn't really get to the line. But we have seen just in general this season more attacking of the basket, more getting to the rim. And if he's consistent with that, that's going to be good moving forward. His free throw numbers have dropped a little bit in terms of free throw rate from where he was a little bit earlier in the year. So we'll see if that climbs back up because he was doing a better job of attacking the basket earlier this year. But still, the two-way effort's been more consistent from those two. And it feels like the chemistry is paying off, like having had time together. And OG Anunoby, also the 3-point shooting and just being able to be that release valve, being able to be that corner shooter, that wing shooter, and shoot from the top of the key and shoot from basically a 3-pointer from anywhere on the court. Like these are the things that's helping them too. So they have to be both commended for their efforts. And also, I'll throw in another wing in there, Josh Hart, who I thought played really, really well as of late and was very good today, especially on the glass. He had 12 boards. You expect that with Karl-Anthony Towns out, that Josh Hart's going to be the one to step up and fill that void alongside Mitchell Robinson. And he did that along with attacking the basket. He was 7 for 13, and I thought he was really, really good today.
Yeah, no, and that goes to where I wanted to go next, Brian, because Josh Hart, he's been really good. He continues to make the decision and insert him into the starting lineup. He continues to make it look like it was the right one. He rewarded Mike Brown with another strong output. You just talked about the double-double there against the Magic. Do you think Josh Hart should remain in the starting lineup when this team is fully healthy? So when they've got everybody, Deuce is hopefully back, knock on wood, Cat is back in the fold, they've got OG back. Do you think he should still remain in the starting lineup?
It's hard to make a case why he shouldn't be, given that, given how he's played, and it does feel like Mike Brown wants to move away from the double big at least for a while in terms of starting them together, and he has. And when he's had have had to find a reason to do it, he's done that, right, and just gone back to basically last year's starting lineup. I do think Josh Hart has earned the right to start, so to speak, and I don't think everyone who has earned the right to start should. When you look at certain people around the league who may have been like really good off the bench, and then all of a sudden you put them in a starting lineup and it doesn't quite work. Josh Hart does work with this starting lineup because of how complimentary he can be. Now, I still would watch the minutes because the sneaky thing that has happened as of late for the Knicks that I want to see, and it was less so the case today, except for Jalen Brunson, who played 38 minutes, but guys are starting to play the minutes that they played last year on more occasions than they probably should. Um, and I wonder if moving forward, if that's going to be something that comes back to bite them. The bench has to really be good, has to really be consistent, but it hasn't been this year. You and I both know that, having watched this team a ton. But that's something I'm also watching. But Josh Hart, from a minutes perspective, at 34, I think you want to see that drop from a game-to-game basis just because of the way he plays and how physical and how tough it is and how much he has to grind to really produce for this team. But he's been great in this limited sample that we've gotten lately.
Yeah, what's been interesting with some of the starters is you have seen some of those minutes go up, especially against the better competition that they've played. Now, because they've been taking care of the business, as you mentioned, against the lesser competition, that's where the minutes have been down. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on. Well, minutes police, y'all gonna do what you're gonna do. Anyway, so we will see how that all plays out. Last thing for me here, Brian, when you look ahead to Tuesday's NBA Cup Quarterfinal, hashtag respect the cup, against Toronto, what elements would you say of this matchup do you think is really important for the Knicks in terms of coming out on top? Like, what do they need to do here in order to come out on top in this matchup against the Raptors? Because also I guess I would ask is, do you think their recent play that you've seen from them, do you think that's going to carry over? What about it do you think will carry over the most? And I guess I'll make you have a prediction. Who do you think comes out on top with a trip to Vegas on the line, and what elements of the Knicks' recent play that we've seen in the last 8 games, where they've won 7, do you think carries over into this matchup?
I think as far as keys go, one is obviously health, but beyond that, I also think the bench play is going to be very significant here. While I do expect the starters to play potentially big minutes because you would think this game is going to be close, it's been priced that way in the markets, for example, like, -2, -3, like those are kind of been the lines for this. And we'll see the health of Karl-Anthony Towns and Deuce McBride and OG-Barrett going into this one, and potentially anything else that may pop up from the Raptors game tonight against the Celtics. But I think the depth is going to be key. The Knicks' depth was tested again today, and Ariel Hukporti, I think, passed that test with flying colors, as mentioned earlier. Gershon Yabusele actually looked pretty good as well. Limited sample, you got 11 minutes only, but he came out the gate. He had 2 threes. Felt like his energy level was appropriate for the most part. But Jordan Clarkson had a stinker today. And that's something that I'm not sure you could afford against a team like the Raptors. Tyler Kolek was whatever. And Deuce McBride, even before the injury, he was not hitting his shots consistent or really at all for the most part because he was 1 for 7. And then when you look at the Raptors bench, like they have some guys who could sneakily play. Like Grady Dick hasn't had, I guess, the season that probably some Raptor fans think that he should have to this point. And Colin Murray Boyles has now become more of a contributor. Mamu as well has had some big games, especially if you look at his points, rebounds, prop. But he's been a constant threat for them as well. And then Jamal Shed, who I think is one of the better, more underrated backup point guards in the NBA. Like these are guys who can win them bench minutes if you're not careful. And then OG-Barrett also is a big swing piece there. As far as predicting the game, I mean, I don't love the way that Toronto's played as of late, as I mentioned. They've had some warts, but I do think their health is going to matter for this one. And the Knicks have not been good on the road against teams of this level. I still do think, though, assuming health on both sides, that they're the better team all around and they should win, but they haven't always handled their business on the road. But I'll still ride with them to win this game coming up, just because I do think they've played much better than the Raptors as of late.
All right, we'll see what happens in that NBA Cup matchup there on Tuesday as they go north of the border to battle the Raptors. That should be a good one. Got more on that coming up later in this episode. If you haven't checked it out, you got to check out the episode Bryan and I did last week. We're in studio for New York Got Game. We gave some Knicks hot takes, and then we also had to suffer, thanks to our technical director, Nikolai Jackson, who made us suffer by trying all these various hot sauces. And if you want to see me suffer, and Bryan, you can watch it all in the episode. Bryan will be back with me in studio on Tuesday night. We're going to have a live Knicks watch party where we are going to watch their matchup against the Toronto Raptors. Big game, hashtag respect the NBA Cup, with the rest of you. Our guy, Andrew Combo Salop, who is a master of hot takes, the host of Combo's Court. He will be in studio with us for that one. Bryan, Tuesday will come soon enough. We'll see what happens with Deuce and everything. Knicks playing good basketball. They've won 7 out of their last 8. Appreciate you coming on to talk a little bit about it with me here. And I'll see you Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. See y'all then.
Okay, so coming off a big weekend at the Garden, the Knicks are now going to turn their attention to win or go home basketball. Yes, win or go home basketball in December. That means it's the NBA Cup Quarterfinals. That goes down Tuesday night in the 6. It's New York versus Toronto with a trip to Vegas on the line. And to help us break down the Raptors side of this matchup, I'm joined by Raptors Republic Video Host Esfandiar Baraheni. There you go. Appreciate you tapping in with me here before this big NBA Cup matchup. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Pronunciation on point, by the way. Thank you. That was awesome. You got it down. Let's go.
Got to be a pro, man. Can't mess up the name.
Yes, sir.
The name your parents gave you. Got to put some respect on it. So, I had to do that. Before we get into stuff, I got to ask you something. I always ask everybody anytime they're on this show and we talk about the NBA Cup. How do you feel about the NBA Cup? Do you care about it? Do you like it? Do you like the direction, the way it's grown? Some people are very against it. Where are you on it?
I love it. I actually love the NBA Cup. I think it's really cool that they're adding something for developing young teams to strive for, because you can't always be trying to win a championship. There are other things out there that you have to go for. And so I think it incentivizes trying in the regular season, which is really important to the NBA. I think there are some tweaks that they can make to make it more competitive. Like, personally, I would say just do 2 weeks of NBA Cup action, have every day be NBA Cup, and then have the final and semifinal and all that afterwards. Because the way it's spread out for the first month and a half of the season, it's a little bit hard to figure out when the games are happening for a casual fan. I know me and you will be locked in on anything, but for a casual fan, it's kind of harder to do that. Either way, I love the Cup. The courts can probably be a little bit better, but it's good. I like it.
Yeah. Okay, so we have some very similar feelings. I love the Cup. I love the point that you made, because I'm a big soccer fan, huge Liverpool fan, and I'm used to watching.
Wait, you're a Liverpool fan too?
Oh,
okay,
see, I didn't
never
know
walk
this.
alone.
Oh, you never walk alone. And now I got a Liverpool brother with me here. This is beautiful.
Not a good season for us, but it's okay. It's all right.
We're not going to talk about that right now. We're going to let that go. I had some feelings about the last match we just had with Leeds that did not make me happy, but Good. See, this is why I knew it was going to be good vibes with me and you, as I already knew. What I was going to say is I think when you have that background of rooting for that, it does kind of help with your love or like of the NBA Cup, right? I do also agree with you.
Sure.
It would be nice if they put all the games together into, what do you say, 2-week stretch? Yeah, it feels
Yeah,
like
something like that.
Yeah, that feels like it would be right, and it could be fine. The courts, I understand what they were trying to do there. I think you just got to mute some of the colors because some of the courts are doing too much. But
Yeah.
I get it. I don't mind.
You gotta remove the yellow,
Yes.
remove the lime green.
Yes.
You know, that's tough. I've
That's
gotten
tough.
used to red, but lime green and yellow, you got
They muted some
highlighter
of the
colors.
reds,
No
too.
way.
They muted some of the reds too after the first year. The Knicks did an orange, and that was rough. They went to the blue this year. That was this is a lot better. So, all right. So you like the NBA Cup? This is good. I'm talking with somebody who likes the NBA Cup and also a fan of the world's best football club, which is Liverpool
Absolutely.
Football Club. So I have no problem with that. All right. Let me ask you this. Let's get to the Raptors. From your perspective, what best defines Toronto's identity heading into this NBA Cup quarterfinal matchup with the Knicks? Because they're a team coming into this that have lost 5 out of their last 6 games. The Knicks, on the other hand, have won 7 out of their last 8 games. So this Raptors team has been a little weird. What's their identity right now?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I think in this loss against the Celtics, we kind of got to see both sides of their identity. They are a team that loves to run. They're number one, or they were at least for the last month and a half of the season. They are number one in transition frequency. They run like crazy. They try to score a lot of points in transition. They also like to try to get easy buckets in any capacity they can, and so transition opportunities are imperative for this team. The thing with that is it requires a lot of legs. It requires depth. It requires a team that can actually play that type of intense basketball for 48 minutes. And so we saw it against the Celtics on Sunday where the first half they didn't have it, and then they gave all of their effort for a second half comeback that fell short. But ultimately, that's sort of been the tale of the tape for this Raptors team all season. They started out 1-4, really slow start because they tried to be this pressure-heavy defense, and that failed them. And then they went on this winning streak where their transition game was fueling them against, albeit bad teams. And now in this recent stretch, I think some of those tired legs have caught up to them. You know, Brandon Ingram said that they feel like they've gotten to a point where everybody feels a little bit tired and everybody is working through the 82-game grueling schedule, if you will. We just talked about the NBA Cup, but that's sort of what's hitting the Raptors right now. Not at the best time, though, because the NBA Cup is single elimination. You got to give it your all, right?
Yeah, you got to. And you kind of led me to where I wanted to go next because you talked about what their identity is there and how it's sort of shifted a little bit thus far in the season. But I guess what do you believe is the biggest strength, I would say, for the Raptors right now that could translate well in the single elimination environment that is the NBA Cup? What do you think that strength is that could translate well in this format, this knockout format right now?
Yeah, that's a good question because I think it really ties in with what the Knicks are elite at too, and that is not turning the ball over, right? The Raptors are a team that likes to turn the ball, force turnovers, likes to get out in transition, and then the Knicks on the other side, they have obviously Jalen Brunson, a guy who takes care of the ball very well, but overall as a team, they take care of the ball. They don't allow tons of turnovers. They don't allow you to get out in transition. And so I think that will be the push and pull of this game. That's the strength for this Raptors team is, hey, we are going to run. We're going to make you guys tired throughout the game. And we've also seen the Knicks run, right? We've seen the Knicks up their tempo this season under head coach Mike Brown. They've been playing a little bit faster. They've been moving the ball more often. And so I'm curious to see who sets the tone with their pace. Is it the Raptors forcing turnovers in transition and then getting out and running? Or is it on the other side, you know, the Knicks getting the ball movement going, playing with a little bit more pace? And obviously that incredible three-point shooting, which was the reason they lost last time to the Knicks too. So I think that will be the big battle there.
All right, that's going to be very interesting to watch in terms of the pace and then the three-point shooting as well between both of these teams. So when you look at this NBA Cup quarterfinal matchup between the Knicks and the Raptors, is it more intriguing to you following the trade that the two teams made? I guess we're coming up on 2 years now, right? Almost 2 years ago, where we saw OG-Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley go to New York for OG Anunoby. And I guess my second part of that is, does that make it more intriguing? And how do you believe this trade has worked out for both sides?
Yeah, what a 2 years it's been.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy that you even labeled it as 2 years because for me, for some reason, I thought it was just a season ago. Like it's gone by so quickly. No pun intended there, but overall, it feels like both of these teams have really changed over these last couple of years. The Knicks have thrown themselves into a championship window, championship contention. Obviously, the karl-Anthony Towns trade was a big part of that, but also trading for OG and Mikal Bridges. They are so locked into trying to win a championship now and within the next couple of seasons. And then from the Raptors' perspective, that trade was a reset of sorts. It was, hey, we want to start new with Scotty Barnes. And, shortly after that, they traded Pascal Siakam. And they basically said, this is the Scotty Barnes era. And at the same time, they have also empowered Emmanuel Quickley and empowered OG-Barrett to be these focal points for them offensively. And I think Quickley dealt with a lot of injuries last season. He's been much better this year, of course, being like one of the best pull-up shooters in the league. And then OG-Barrett has been truthfully like a revelation. When that trade first happened, I'm not going to lie to you, I was very skeptical of how RJ would fit within the Raptors system. He completely shut down any skepticism that I had immediately. He was an elite cutter. His three-point shooting off the catch was good, and he provided such an important part for this team as a rim finisher, a guy who attacks the paint, that it was just necessary. Like he provides something functional for this offense for the Raptors. Overall, who has won the trade is tough. I feel like it might go down on Tuesday. Why don't we? Whoever wins on Tuesday wins the trade. Can we do that?
You know what's funny? That should be the thing. It should be it. Sometimes I think we do this as both teams could have won the trade. This is one of these trades that I think has worked out well for both sides. Like I really felt it could, and then I feel like it actually has. But yeah, we can do that. You're right. We can have Tuesday be the decider. It could be the trade
OG's
decider.
back too, right? So maybe there's a little bit of homecoming stuff for him, which would be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice. No, I think it's worked out for both teams, but
yeah,
good, it's fine. But let's let Tuesday decide it. Why not? We can let that happen.
Okay. Right.
When you talk about, because you alluded to this a little bit before about the Raptors' pace, like how would you describe their pace and then their shot profile that the Raptors prefer to play with this season, opposed to maybe what people who haven't watched them or did watch them see from them last season?
Yeah, so look, this is a team that knows what they're good at. The transition offense is obviously a big part of their game. Pushing in transition is a really big part. And then in the half court, they rely on mid-range scoring for what they do. Brandon Ingram is such an elite mid-range scorer. They really lean into his strengths by setting him up off of pin-down screens, off of option screens, any kind of screen that can kind of get him going downhill, give him an advantage to work in that mid-range area. And then also they have Scotty Barnes, who's really developed his mid-range craft over the last couple of seasons, and they're leaning on that plus their kind of like mid-post area creation that both of those guys can do as playmakers. And so that is the bread and butter of their offense. It is leaning on those two guys to create in the middle of the floor. And while their three-point attempt volume isn't there, the Raptors in general, that is, I also think, another factor to this whole game. It's, the Knicks take a ton of threes. The Raptors don't take that many threes. How that math battle shakes out over a single elimination game, I think I would say advantage Knicks in that category, just because, hey, if you can shoot the ball well and you have a great shooting night, you're probably going to win a single elimination game. On the other side of that, I think I trust the Raptors' mid-range scoring to be able to keep up in a major win. That is a lot of pressure on Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes to keep up with the scoring department. So that's the two major factors for this Raptors team for sure.
Yeah, the shot profile has been interesting, and you wonder how that might evolve for the Raptors as the season goes on. Do they start to try to shoot more threes? Is that just not their game? There's all these things you want to try to figure out with the team as you're looking at it. But as we stick to the Raptors side and you look at this, as which Knicks player creates that you would say maybe the biggest defensive challenge, I would say, for the Raptors when you're looking at this game? Who's that Knicks player that you're looking at and you're like, man, this is trouble. This is where the Raptors have to worry, is a big defensive challenge for them.
Yeah, it's always going to be Jalen Brunson. I think their bigs and their switch-heavy scheme will actually do well against karl-Anthony Towns. I think they have the type of size in a Scotty Barnes particularly that is the right kind of defender against Towns if he plays in that game. Obviously, we know he didn't play against the Magic due to calf tightness. We'll see if he's good to go for Tuesday. But I think that's one question that I have for them is how they guard Jalen Brunson, because they don't have the point of attack defenders that can stick with Brunson, who is obviously elite as a pick and roll playmaker, a guy who is going to get to the free throw line and is going to do his best to kind of create angles in that mid-range area. He's so, the quote-unquote thing is like herky-jerky, right? He's really good at getting guys off of their spots defensively. And I don't think the Raptors have a single point of attack defender that can really make it hard on him. They will throw Jacoby Walter at him. They will throw Jamal Shed at him. They'll throw multiple different looks in pick and roll coverages against him, whether it's like icing him in pick and rolls and forcing him to the sideline, or whether it's, doubling him and trapping him and trying to get the ball out of his hands. But ultimately, he is going to be a problem for the Raptors. And I think, truthfully, he's a problem for a lot of teams. Yeah. There's maybe the Oklahoma City Thunder is the only team I would trust to guard Jalen Brunson right now. I really don't know if there's a team out there that I could be devise a plan to stop Jalen Brunson outside of OKC. So, yeah, that's going to be a problem for the Raptors.
That's fair. He's a problem, as you said, for a lot of people, and I've seen him cook a lot of teams over and over. You're right. Maybe outside the Thunder, who have a lot of wings they can throw at him to be good point of attack defenders. I'm not sure where you're going. But when you look, I'm going to have you put your coaching hat on a little bit here, because when you look at the film with the Raptors and the Knicks, where do you think the Knicks are most vulnerable defensively that Toronto could try to exploit in this game?
At the same time, as I say, Jalen Brunson is a problem. I think the point of attack defense is where they can attack. And if they can get Brunson and Cat in actions, and we've seen this with the Knicks over the last year or so, right? If you can get Brunson and Cat in actions, make them work defensively, on the other side of the ball on offense, you might get some short legs, right? You might get some tired shots. I think that's the way you try and attack this Knicks team. It's by figuring out how you can put those guys in actions more frequently. And part of that is, one, having really talented scorers off of the bounce. So this is going to be a big game for Emmanuel Quickley to put pressure on the point of attack defense with his three-point shooting, with his ability to get into the middle of the floor and settle into a floater shot. That's really something that he's great at. The other thing is Scotty Barnes. Can he get Brunson on a mismatch and attack him there and get into the post and make him work and be physical with him? These are sort of the questions. Maybe you can get Brunson in foul trouble that way. So if I'm the Raptors, it's how do I get those two players in actions more often, make them work on defense, and hopefully you get a tired version of them on offense.
There you go. Look, you did a good job with the coaching hat. They might want to hire you on the Raptors staff and do that. All right, the Knicks fans know this. The best two offensive players are their two weakest defenders, and that is what good teams usually try to do in terms of attacking them. Now, when you keep it on the Raptors, you talked about the Raptors and their sort of trajectory this season as they've tried to find their identity. And one of the things you talked about in this stretch where they've lost 5 out of their last 6 games, they've played without OG-Barrett for a while now through this whole stretch. And you look at how well they were playing before OG-Barrett went down. How important is he to the Raptors' success this season and just overall to where Toronto is trying to go?
Huge. He is a huge factor. Look, outside of the fact that this guy, RJ, is a 20-point-per-game scorer for this team, and the Raptors' offense is so egalitarian, right? The greatest thing about them is that they are better than the sum of their parts, however way you want to describe it. They have multiple ways to attack you, whether it's Brandon Ingram, whether it's Scotty Barnes, whether it's Emmanuel Quickley, or whether it's OG-Barrett. You don't know who is going to be the guy on any given night. And that could be a gift and a curse, right? At one point, you could say, well, they have so many options that you don't know how to guard them. And then on the other side, if one of those pieces isn't there, then the whole thing kind of collapses onto itself. The foundation isn't as strong anymore. And so over the last couple of weeks with RJ out, we've really seen them struggle to get into the paint, to get rim attempts, to finish in and around the basket. He's such an elite cutter, and so a lot of their cutting actions, the points per possession have gone down. He was having a really good shooting season, and so he was one of their quote-unquote floor spacers to start this year as well. So RJ's presence is massive, and it's had a ripple effect on some of these other guys efficiency-wise. I think Brandon Ingram has really suffered over the last couple of weeks because He's being forced into more mid-range shots. He's being forced to, create for this team more frequently. And I think it's actually forced him to be a little bit tired too. So you're seeing OG-Barrett, shout out to baseball. Baseball has these kind of pitchers that eat innings, right?
Yeah.
OG-Barrett is an innings eater. Second and third quarter, he can get you, a 10-0 run. He can get you a 5-0 run. And they're missing that little punch. And I think that's a big factor for Tuesday too. We'll see if he ends up being able to play. I would put that at doubtful right now because he hasn't upgraded to contact and practice yet. But he is a huge factor for this team, just long-term for the rest of the season.
I like that. Innings eater. You don't usually see that in terms of basketball players, but can kind of do things for you in those middle quarters. I like that. I like that there for sure. So, okay, you're saying he's a huge factor for the team, and you also said you think it's more leaning towards more doubtful that he plays on Tuesday. So that would be a blow for the Raptors and him not being able to get on the court there at Scotiabank Arena. But who would you say, maybe it's RJ. I don't know what you're going to say here, but who's the X factor on this Raptors team right now that, at least they'll say, that will play, that has to show up in this game?
Yeah.
That's one part for you. And then in your eyes, who do you think is the X factor for the Knicks?
So, yes, the answer is OG-Barrett, but I'll give you a better answer.
Okay.
I'll give you a more clean answer here. Jakob Poeltl is the big X factor for the Raptors. He didn't play in their last game against the Knicks, and I think Mitchell Robinson just dominated them on the offensive rebounds. Mitchell Robinson usually dominates a lot of players when it comes to crashing the offensive glass. He's just like that, but they need Jakob Poeltl to be a big presence, and Jakob has been dealing with this back issue to start this season, where some games he'll look good, some games he'll look fresh, he'll look like the back is kind of feeling good, and then on other nights he will be a step slow. He won't be able to crash the offensive glass. He won't be able to crash the glass in general. You see him being a step slow defensively too. So they need the right version of Jakob Poeltl versus the Knicks for them to have even a little bit of a chance to win this game. If he isn't, then I truthfully think the Knicks will handedly win this game. And so Yak is the answer here. For the Knicks side of things, of course, Cat and how available he is the question. I saw Deuce McBride hurt himself in Orlando versus Orlando. I hope he's okay. Maybe that's a factor there too. But I would say Josh Hart. Josh Hart is sort of a do-it-all kind of guy who teams typically sag off of in their lineups when it comes to the three-point shooting, and so they're daring him to shoot. That bit them in the butt a little bit on Sunday versus the Knicks when Josh Hart went off. And he was pushing in transition. He was working well defensively. He's sort of this utility knife for what the Knicks want to do. And so I would say for the Knicks purposes, Josh Hart is the X factor. On the other side, it's Jakob Poeltl.
I like that. Josh Hart and Jakob Poeltl, definitely keep your eye on those two players in this game. Now, let me ask you this, because I like to always talk about, especially playoff series, but this being a single elimination game here. I'm going to ask you for three. What are the three biggest swing factors that you're going to be keeping your eye on that could decide this game? Three things that you think could swing this way. It could be for either team in either direction. What are those three biggest swing factors for you?
Three-point shooting for sure. Again, in a single elimination type of game, you've seen it in play-in basketball. We've seen it in playoff basketball. We've seen it in the NBA Cup beforehand. If you can get a hot game, you can really attack and make an upset happen, or you can make a blowout happen. And so three-point shooting is the big swing factor here. Can the Knicks come to Toronto, where they have, I believe in general this season, the Knicks have struggled on the road, right?
So right now this season, as we come into this game, 3-6 on the road. Obviously 13-1 at home. Right. We were talking about this earlier with my guy Bryan Fonseca. But 3-6 on the road, so they've struggled. And they haven't really had a good win on the road against a quality team.
So this would be a big test for the Knicks too, just because we know how role players typically don't shoot as well on the road. They shoot better at home. And so you look at guys in that role player category, and Yabusele and Clarkson, maybe Deuce McBride if he ends up playing, those guys need to be able to hit their shots. Josh Hart, who we just talked about, three-point shooting is the big thing. Tempo and pace as well. Who's kind of controlling the tempo and the pace more often. And then the third thing I would say is how much can the Raptors get scoring-wise from anybody other than Brandon Ingram and OG-Barrett? Is there going to be a third guy on that night that can provide them with 20. Is it going to be Emmanuel Quickly? It could be, nice little revenge game in a big moment. That would be awesome for Quick to do. But overall, they need another guy outside of Scotty and BI to provide for them offensively. If they can do that, I think they have a good chance to win this game.
All right, I like those. I like those 3 swing factors. How much, if any, can we take from the matchup between these two teams that we just saw on November 30th, so a little bit over a week ago? How much can we take from that? And if the Raptors lose this game, what would you most likely point to as the deciding issue or reason as to why they lose this game against the Knicks?
So I would say no to the fact that, the first game that they played against each other, just because the Raptors were missing Jakob Poeltl and they were missing OG-Barrett. And so I think there was a level of, this team is injured. They were also on the second night of a back-to-back at that point. So there's a level of, hey, this is not the full version of the Raptors that you can expect. At the same time, we don't know if RJ is going to play. Hopefully Jakob Poeltl is healthy. That's a big question for the Raptors. If the Raptors lose this game, it'll be because their offense suffered in clutch moments. They've actually been pretty good in clutch moments this year. They are, I believe, 8-4 in clutch time this season, so they've won clutch games. But overall, when you're on the other side of the floor is Jalen Brunson and karl-Anthony Towns, and they have this real tried and true recipe to get good shots in the clutch, and you're going against them, I think it's a little bit tougher in NBA Cup. Kind of the stakes are high, if you will. So how are they going to perform when the stakes are high? That's the big question here. So if they lose, it's because of that.
Yep, that is the question. And it's for everybody. Single elimination, anything can happen. And with that being said, I got to ask you this. All right, what's your prediction for this game in the 6 on Tuesday? Who wins this game? Who's going to head to Vegas for the semis? What you got?
I was prepared to say the Knicks are going to win.
Oh.
But after hearing that road record.
Yeah.
And the Raptors are, look, the Raptors are desperate right now. They've lost 5 of their last 6. They need to get some sort of win. And I think the last couple of games that they've lost, the buzzer beater to Rui Hachimura and the Lakers, a terrible blowout loss to the Hornets, and then this weird 1/2 on, 1/2 off game to the Celtics. They've had a couple of weird games where they've lost, and this is a team that has to get this win. There's a desperation to this game that is more than just a cup game to them. It's sort of, you have to figure out if you're a real team, if you're a real playoff team, if you're a team that wants to get taken seriously in the Eastern Conference. And I think there's no better test than this Knicks team and this moment for them. So it's a real, look in the mirror type of moment for the Raptors.
Yeah.
Can they actually do it? Can they actually be the team that they thought they were in November? So I'm going to pick the Raptors.
All right, so you're picking the Raptors here. And I also assume you think that if they win, it's going to be huge for them to get to the semis and go to Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
You think that could be huge for this team?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's a moment for them to look in the mirror, and it can really define the rest of their season. Just because they are in a losing streak right now, they're in a point in time where they kind of have to figure out who they are as a team, whether they're, when they get knocked down, are they going to be able to get back up or not? And if they win against the Knicks, I think you have one version of the season. And if they lose against the Knicks and, it's a bad loss, I think you have a different version of the season altogether. So that's why this one's a big one for them.
That's interesting. Could be a sliding doors kind of moment here for the Raptors in this game. We'll see how that all shakes out. It's funny. I have not been up to the 6 in quite some time. I have a question for you.
Really?
Yeah, it's been a while. Toronto's one of my favorite cities. I have not been there in quite some time. Yeah. Toronto's great city. Great city.
New York is also one of my favorite cities. I haven't gone in a couple of years. So
a lot of good vibes here. At Scotiabank Arena, has your boy Drake shown up, and are they still playing his music at the arena? Is that happening, or has he been laying low?
He has not showed up this season. I haven't seen him this season. They did play his music when the Lakers came to town and LeBron was there, and I think that was on purpose. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think that was purposeful because the whole Kendrick Drake beef and LeBron's side in it and all that type of stuff. So
I see the Raptors entertainment team. I see what you're doing.
Oh, they do their thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
All right, but he hasn't shown up for this game.
You got to come to Toronto though. I will tell you, Good food, good vibes. Maybe come in the summer though. You know what I mean? When the weather's a little bit better.
Yeah, I know. It's funny because I was talking to our Knicks reporter, Esfandiar, and we were talking about our love for Toronto, and I was like, oh, do you mind going up there? Some reporters don't like to go. They don't like dealing with the customs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But he was like, no, it's fine. It's going to be really cold because it got cold here recently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Toronto winters. It's a little could be a little bit tough.
Cold.
Could be a little tough.
Yeah,
Summer's beautiful, lot to
Yes.
do, a lot of culture, good food. You can't beat it. Everybody, that is Esfandiar Baraheni. Check him out. Video host, Raptors Republic, does a fantastic job. Man, I got to appreciate you. One, I like you even more because you're a Liverpool fan. You'll never walk alone. And you got to come back and do this again next time we have to talk some Knicks Raptors. And I'll message you if your prediction is wrong and the Raptors lose. I will definitely
expect
hit you up.
to. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and look, if the Raptors end up playing the Knicks in the playoffs, we'll see. We'll see how that shakes out.
We might have to do. Maybe you'll make a trip down here to New York. I'll get a trip up there to Toronto, and we'll have a little cultural exchange. We'll do that.
You'll never walk alone, brother.
Never walk alone. Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, so it's a very interesting week for the New York Knicks. We do not know what their schedule is as of yet beyond the game on Tuesday when they head up to the 6 to play the Raptors in the NBA Cup. Knicks are going to take this seriously. They're going to try to win. I think they'd like to go to Vegas. It could be good. This is a good thing for all these teams. But when you look at this Knicks team, and there's going to be a lot of Knicks fans who question, okay, well, how good are they? Through 23 games, they're 16-7. I think a lot of fans out there, if you're reasonable, would have signed up for that. The team has won 7 out of their last 8 games, as we talked about. But let's try to put where this team is in perspective, because so much of this season is going to come down to, for some people, yeah, I get it. They've won 7 out of 8, but who have they played? What are the quality wins? While they've won 7 out of 8, a lot of people are going to focus on the loss that they had to the Boston Celtics. So much focus will be on that in that time because that was another road game. They still are looking for a quality road win. We understand all that. But I think you got to look at this team, which decided to change the head coach. Tom Thibodeau out, Mike Brown in, new system on offense and defense. And when we talk about the offense, according to Cleaning the Glass, they are second in offensive rating in the league. When it comes to defense, that is still a work in progress. There's still some things they absolutely need to clean up. They're 14th right now. And again, they're second in the Eastern Conference. Have they hit their peak, winning 7 out of their last 8? Nah, I don't think so. Is there still another level they can go? Absolutely. Do they still need to show you something on the road? Absolutely. They've got to do that. And I think they can use this NBA Cup with some games, having some stakes, to show that. It's an opportunity for the bench to finally show up. Some bench players still have yet to perform. It's an opportunity for Mike Brown to still tinker with his rotations, with his lineup, something that I've liked that we have seen. Who can he trust? Who can he not trust in these situations? These games with stakes, no matter how you feel about the NBA Cup, whether you care about it or you don't, this can be something that could be good for this young team. You heard Ez talk about how it could be a springboard for the Raptors, and we know the Knicks are a veteran team that have a much loftier goal in mind, which is to win an NBA championship. But why can't it be that they can learn some things in these games if they are to play, game, at least on Tuesday, or maybe more games if they head to Vegas? I still think there's a lot to learn about this Knicks team. They are 11 games over 500. 9 games over 500. They are trending in the right place of getting to 10, 11 games over 500. That has to be the goal. There still is a lot of work to do, but there's a lot of things that is very intriguing about this Knicks team, and I think they're still growing. They're trying to head into the right direction. They're not a finished product. So you can have all the Giannis talk, and we talked about it this week, and you can do all that and look at what the Knicks should do and worry about how they should be at the trade deadline and where they should be. We'll have time for that, and we'll discuss all that. But I think right now you have to at least appreciate the start that they've had to the season, winning 16 of their first 23 games with all the change that they've had, with the things they still have to learn. They're not a finished product. This is part of the journey, it's part of the process. Are they a perfect team? No. Are there still holes? Are there still warts? Absolutely. But I think a lot of you guys out there would have signed up for them winning 16 of their first 23 games. And we'll see how they do when they're put to the test north of the border on Tuesday for the NBA Cup matchup with the Toronto Raptors. Speaking of that NBA Cup matchup, as I said earlier in the show, you can catch myself, Bryan Fonseca, and our guest, Combo, Andrew Salop. will be here with us to watch the game against the Raptors. That should be a fun one as well. If they do win and they get to the semis, we'll be back for another watch party with that as well too. So please check that out. As always, hit that like button, subscribe button on the New York Post Sports YouTube channel for all the great New York Got Game content. Please check out our last episode we did with our Knicks hot takes. I'm telling you guys, it's a good one. Check it out, especially if you want to see me sweat. I was literally sweating after some of the hot sauce that I had. As always, we have to thank the people who do a fantastic job behind the show. Producer Erica Block, editor Eduardo Guerrero, production assistants Tommy Cohen and Jessica Thiessen. I'm Dexter Henry. We'll catch you next time in another edition of New York Got Game.
And thanks for watching New York Got Game. Boom shakalaka.